Welcome. In the last episode, I introduced the Oiaré model and walked you through its 4 interconnected elements that shape how we experience and navigate life. Okay? Today, we're going to dive deeper and take a look at the first element, your mind's architecture. If you haven't watched the first episode yet, I will highly recommend starting there first. I'll be sure to link it below. Most people spend their lives trying to change what they do, their habits, their productivity, their confidence, their relationships. But underneath every one of those things is something much more fundamental: the structure that creates them. In other words, your mind's architecture. So, what is mind architecture? Your mind's architecture is the unique structure created by your beliefs, your values, past experiences, emotional patterns, habits, perspectives, and the meaning you've learned to give the world around you. It's the lens through which you experience life. It shapes what you notice, what you overlook, what feels threatening, what feels possible, how you interpret situations, the emotions that those interpretations create, and ultimately the choices that you make. Your life isn't built directly by your circumstances, okay? It's built by the architectures through which you experience these circumstances. Think about this. Have you ever noticed that one person sees an opportunity while someone else only sees risk? One person hears feedback and feels motivated, yet another hears the exact same words and feels like a failure. One person walks into a room and assumes people are glad that they're there, and another immediately wonders if they belong. The situations didn't create those expectations, their architecture did. Because truly, none of us experience life exactly as it is. We only can experience life through the architecture of our mind. You don't respond to life itself, you respond to the version of life that your architecture creates. And once you begin seeing this, so much of life starts making sense. So where does that architecture come from? It begins forming long before we're aware of it. Every experience leaves behind part of that blueprint. Your childhood experiences, the messages you've heard growing up, okay? The relationships that made you feel safe and unsafe, the moments that built confidence and the moments that created fear, the beliefs you adopted, the values you chose, the stories you've repeated about yourself. All these things over time become the architecture through which you experience everything else. Some parts support the life you're trying to build now, and others were designed to help you survive a chapter of life that's already over, perhaps. And that's the good news. Architecture isn't permanent. Just because your mind was built a certain way doesn't mean it has to stay that way. You don't have to erase your past. You don't have to become someone else. You simply begin noticing the architecture you've been living inside, keeping what serves you and intentionally redesigning what no longer does. By no means the goal is to build a perfect mind. Instead, it's to intentionally optimize your mind's architecture so it better supports the life you want to create. When you understand this, the questions you ask begin to change. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" you begin asking, "What part of my architecture is creating this experience?" And that's a completely different question. Because lasting change rarely comes from trying harder. It comes from understanding the system that's creating your thoughts, your emotions, and your choices. Once you can see that system, you can begin changing it. And before we finish, I would like to leave you with a simple exercise. Over the next day or two, become the architect of your mind. Every time something creates a strong emotional reaction, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what meaning did my mind just assign to this? And then ask, what does that reveal about my architecture? Maybe it reveals a belief, maybe an assumption, maybe a fear, maybe a past experience that's still shaping how you interpret the present. Don't try to change it yet, just notice it. Because before you can intentionally optimize your architecture, you first have to understand the one that's already shaping how you experience life. But as always in life, there's a challenge. Seeing your own architecture isn't always easy, especially when you're overwhelmed, anxious, discouraged, or emotionally exhausted. And that's because the way you experience the world changes depending on your state. And in the next episode, we'll explore elevation, what it is, why it matters, how it changes what you're able to see, think, and choose. Because before you can redesign your architecture, you first have to be able to see it clearly. That's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, live by direction, not by reaction.